Catherine, you're pregnant! Catherine and John couldn't believe their ears. Joy overflowed in their hearts. Catherine cried, but these were tears of happiness. John embraced his wife, saying nothing, just silently holding her hand. All the disappointments, the long sleepless nights, the countless doctor visits seemed to vanish in an instant. A child was about to be born, and it was the miracle they thought they had lost forever. Catherine and John were a middle-aged couple who had tried for years to have a child. They had tried every method, from herbal medicine, seeing specialists, to advanced therapies. But nothing worked. The feeling of being unable to become parents, the longing that was never answered, began to slowly creep into their hearts. Catherine didn't speak of it, but every time she saw other children running and playing, her yearning for a child would ignite a painful fire within her. John, although he didn't express his emotions much, always had a vague look in his eyes, as if silently nurturing a hope. They loved each other. They had a small family, but they lacked something important they had longed for: the laughter of a child. Years passed, and the disappointment slowly turned into silence. Words of encouragement from friends and family became meaningless reassurances. The two of them began to step back, give up hope, and accept that they might never have children. On quiet evenings, they sat together at their small dining table, saying nothing, just silently looking at each other in the dark. Their greatest sadness was not knowing how to move forward. And then, one spring morning, everything suddenly changed. Catherine received the good news from the doctor. She was pregnant. Days passed, and Catherine and John prepared to welcome their first child. They cleaned the empty room, set up the crib, bought toys and tiny clothes. Every time Catherine looked at the small bed, she smiled to herself. "Our baby will sleep here," she whispered, her eyes shining with joy. Finally, their beloved child was born. But the joy was short-lived. Emily, their tiny baby, was unlike the other children in the hospital. Her skin was dark, her body frail and unusually thin, as if every breath was a challenge. The other children around her were healthy, crying loudly and full of tears, but Emily only made weak, soft sounds, as if her life force was ready to dissipate into the air. Catherine felt an odd sense of anxiety wash over her, but instead of panicking, she became more resolute than ever. She cradled her child in her arms, promising that no matter what, she would love and care for her until she was healthy. Catherine didn't let fear invade her heart, and even though Emily was fragile, she never felt discouraged. John felt the same. Although filled with worry, he never let it show. He worked harder, striving to create a stable and safe environment for the family, so Catherine and Emily would feel that, no matter what, he was always there and would never abandon them. The pain of realizing that their daughter wasn't healthy quickly faded, replaced by the love and fierce determination of a mother. Emily was their daughter, and nothing could change that. Catherine's tears of joy became the driving force behind her relentless fight for her child. With love and patience, Catherine decided that she would never let Emily face any hardship alone. She would always be by her side, protecting, caring, and loving her little girl. Quiet summer days in Catherine and John's small house were filled with laughter and hope. However, deep in their hearts, every day was a silent challenge. Emily, now 2 years old, was still the tiny, fragile little girl they had cared for all these years. They didn't just care for her physically, they poured all their love and patience into making up for the hardships Emily had faced. By the time Emily turned 2, she weighed only 7 kilograms, a number that was far from what other children her age weighed. Every time Catherine lifted her up, she felt like she was carrying a newborn, even though Emily had grown. The happy smiles, the words "Mommy" and "Daddy" were small milestones that the couple cherished deeply. Although Emily could only say those two simple words, they brought boundless joy to Catherine and John. Those few words, though few, were like a ray of light cutting through the darkness of those painful days. Every time Emily whispered, "Mommy," Catherine felt her heart melt. It wasn't just the words of a child, but a deep connection between mother and child. However, each of these small joys was accompanied by mocking remarks from those around them. The mothers in the neighborhood, when they saw Catherine and Emily, sometimes couldn't hide their curious glances and whispered comments. "Other kids are running around by now. Why can't your child walk properly?" one mother remarked, her tone blunt. "Look how thin she is. I wonder if she's healthy," another added. Catherine could clearly feel the criticism, whether through their looks or casual words. Those words felt like invisible arrows, deepening Catherine's pain. She tried not to let these jabs affect her, but sometimes they lingered in her heart, making her uneasy and sorrowful. Instead of walking steadily like the other children her age, Emily could only take a few hesitant steps, each one unsteady. But each step was a victory. Catherine and John watched their daughter with eyes full of pride. They didn't care that Emily couldn't walk like other children. They only knew that those first unsteady steps were proof of their daughter's resilience and effort. "You can do it, Emily," Catherine whispered every time Emily fell. And when Emily stood up, bit by bit, Catherine and John's worries began to fade. Both parents refused to let mockery or critical gazes shake their faith in their child. They knew that their love and care would help Emily overcome any obstacles. Each day was a challenge for the family, but love and patience had helped them persevere. John worked all day, but every time he came home, he found ways to help Catherine. He washed the dishes, tidied up, and sometimes just sat next to his wife, caring for Emily together. In the evenings, when Emily had fallen asleep, Catherine and John sat together in silence, watching their child, knowing that every day that passed was a precious one. Despite the challenges and societal judgments, and John, Emily was always a lovely, strong little girl who deserved endless love. They would never give up, no matter how the world outside failed to understand what they were going through. One day, Emily started coughing uncontrollably and developed a high fever. This time, the fever was unlike the previous ones, where a few doses of medicine and some rest would improve her condition. The cough wouldn't stop, and each time Emily breathed, she wheezed and gasped for air. Catherine felt a weight in her heart. This time, her worry could not be avoided. She immediately called John, but unlike before, Catherine felt a sense of dread she couldn't shake. "John, I don't know what to do. Emily isn't okay," Catherine said on the phone, her voice hoarse with anxiety. John heard the panic in her voice and immediately packed up to come home. He knew that this time, things weren't as simple as before. The two of them rushed Emily to the hospital, their hearts full of fear. Upon arriving, the doctor ordered thorough tests, and after a long wait, they were called into the room to hear the results. "The baby has congenital heart disease," the doctor said, his gaze serious but filled with sympathy. "Her heart isn't functioning normally. Medical intervention and special monitoring will be required in the coming period." The doctor's words struck Catherine and John like a bolt of lightning. They stood frozen, unable to process what they had just heard. They looked at each other, and in that moment, the world seemed to collapse. Emily, the little girl they had longed for so desperately, now faced an unpredictable illness. Catherine hugged her daughter tightly, the suffocating feeling making it hard for her to breathe. "How could this happen?" she whispered, tears beginning to fall. Why is it our child, John? John clenched his wife's hand, trying to hold back his emotions. We'll get through this. Catherine, we've faced so many challenges already, and we'll get through this one too. Emily is our daughter, and we'll never give up. But in that moment, Catherine felt the fear inside herself. How could they face such an uncertain future? How could they watch their daughter endure a dangerous surgery, knowing that all they could do was stand by her and watch her fight alone? The doctor explained that Emily would need special care to prepare for the heart surgery. But before the surgery could take place, she needed to strengthen her health and gain weight. This meant that Catherine and John would have to fight relentlessly. Every meal, every dose of medicine, every nap, all had to be carefully monitored. The couple knew they had to give their all, not just for Emily, but for themselves, for their family. They couldn't let fear win. They couldn't give up.
"We'll do everything, Catherine," John said, his voice filled with determination. "We'll help her gain the strength to fight, and we won't let her face this alone."
Catherine looked into her husband's eyes, and in that moment, she knew that no matter what happened, they would face it together. Though the road ahead was fraught with challenges, their love and family strength would be the driving force that would carry them forward. So they began a new journey, a journey of hope, a journey fueled by determination to never give up, even when faced with an overwhelming trial. On a gloomy winter day, the cold air seemed to engulf Catherine and John's small house. Although the fire in the fireplace still burned warm, the coldness and unease in their hearts could not be dispelled. Emily needed heart surgery to survive, but this battle was not just about a simple operation. Every moment faced with it was a struggle not only with the disease, but also with the fears deep within their hearts. Catherine and John stood by Emily's bed in the hospital room, their hands tightly clasped together, but their eyes full of worry and helplessness. The doctors had confirmed that surgery was necessary if Emily had any chance of survival, but the cost of the surgery was extremely high, and the chances of success were very low. Hearing this, the couple felt as though they had been doused with a bucket of cold water. "She's too young, and her condition is too dangerous. The surgery will be very expensive, and we cannot guarantee the success rate," the doctor said in a serious tone, yet with a hint of sympathy. This news hit Catherine and John like a heavy blow. They couldn't imagine how they would live without Emily. They couldn't accept such a future. But at times, they couldn't avoid feelings of confusion. During long sleepless nights, the advice from others began to echo in their minds. "Just give up. Try again with another child. Who's to say she will survive the surgery?" These words echoed in Catherine's mind like invisible arrows piercing her heart. Although these words seemed reasonable, Catherine could not imagine a life without Emily. She couldn't accept a future without the presence of her daughter. She couldn't fathom what the house would be like without Emily's laughter. That was the one thing she was certain of. Emily was everything to her, and nothing could change that. One evening, when it was already late, Catherine sat by Emily's bed, watching her little daughter sleep soundly. She looked at her child's frail face, which just a month ago had been full of life, but now appeared weary from illness. But despite everything, Catherine felt an invisible strength in her heart, a resolve that could not be shaken. She knew she couldn't give up. Sitting up straight, Catherine gently stroked Emily's hair, whispering, "I won't give up on you, Emily. I will fight for you, no matter what happens. You are everything to me." John looked at his wife, his eyes filled with determination, though they too held worry. He held Catherine's hand tightly. "We won't give up. Emily is our daughter. We've overcome so much, and we will overcome this too. We will do whatever it takes to give our daughter a chance to live,
no matter how difficult it may be. The very next morning, Catherine and John began finding ways to raise the money for the surgery. They didn't have enough, but their love for Emily was strong enough to make them try anything. From borrowing money from friends and family to even selling valuable items in their home. Everything they had, they poured into this cause. John didn't hesitate to take time off work to care for their daughter, and Catherine never left Emily's side, always encouraging and caring for her every moment. The night before the surgery, the whole family sat together in the hospital room, the soft light from a small bedside lamp illuminating Emily's face as she slept peacefully. Catherine and John sat silently, saying nothing, just feeling each other's presence in that space. Despite the worry, those moments were filled with love. Catherine looked at Emily and whispered, "You are everything, and we will fight with you." Tomorrow, the surgery would take place, and they didn't know what would happen. But one thing they knew for sure, no matter how difficult it got, they would never give up. They would fight for Emily, because of love and hope that would never die. Light filtered through the hospital window, but inside Emily's room, the air was heavy and still. Though her heart surgery had been successful, the road to recovery was long and full of challenges. Catherine sat by Emily's bed, her eyes fixed on her daughter, filled with worry and love. She couldn't imagine what life would be like without her little girl by her side. Emily's heart surgery had gone smoothly, but it was only a temporary success. The doctors had confirmed that Emily would need to undergo a long recovery process, and even if she survived, her health remained very fragile, and she wouldn't be able to care for herself. In the days following the surgery, Emily faced indescribable pain and exhaustion. She lay still in bed, her frail body too weak to support itself, and every breath was a struggle. Catherine didn't leave her side. Every morning she woke up early, her eyes filled with worry and fear. She cared for Emily with all the love and patience she had, from changing diapers to giving her medicine. Despite her fatigue, Catherine's eyes never left her daughter. And even through countless sleepless nights, she always greeted Emily with smiles and gentle hand-holding. She knew that if she wasn't strong, Emily couldn't be strong. The boundless love Catherine had for her daughter was the driving force that helped her push through each difficult moment. Meanwhile, John, though he didn't show it, was deeply worried about Emily's health. He tried to keep his spirits up for Catherine, but deep down, he could feel his wife's tension and anxiety. Every evening after work, he returned home exhausted, but never let his weariness show. He wanted Catherine to see his strength, that no matter what happened, they would face it together. The couple watched every step of Emily's progress. In the first days after surgery, Emily was too weak to eat normally and had to be given IV fluids to maintain her health. Catherine and John saw every small progress as a big victory. Each time Emily opened her eyes, every little movement of her hands and feet was a sign that she was slowly recovering. "You're trying hard, aren't you, Emily?" Catherine whispered as she saw her daughter's gentle movements. One morning, when Emily started to move slightly, Catherine smiled at her, a wave of happiness filling her heart. "Thank you for fighting, Emily," she said softly, even as tears welled up in her eyes. The little girl had gone through such a tough time, but now she was fighting every minute to survive. Each step forward, no matter how small, brought invaluable comfort to Catherine. As days passed, Emily's health began to improve. She started eating a little bit of thin porridge, and bit by bit, she was able to sit up, and then take a few short steps. The worry in Catherine and John's hearts gradually eased, but the joy still overflowed in their hearts. They knew Emily would face many more challenges ahead, but every step she took brought them more confidence in the future. One day, as Catherine helped Emily sit up in bed, the little girl looked at her mother and whispered, "Mommy, I want to go play." Those simple words made Catherine's heart overflow. It was a sign of recovery, a beacon of hope shining through the darkness. Emily had overcome the dark days, and now they just needed to be patient as brighter days awaited. Catherine and John looked at their daughter, their hearts full of love and hope. They had fought together, and they would continue to fight to protect Emily so she could live a life full of laughter and joy. Years later, in the vast lecture hall, the warm light from the windows illuminated each desk, creating a tranquil yet lively atmosphere. The cushioned chairs were neatly arranged, and students sat attentively, listening intently. On the podium, Emily stood, an outstanding university lecturer, confident and graceful, with a bright gaze and determination in every word she spoke. Emily had overcome all the hardships life had thrown at her. The months filled with anxiety, pain, and challenges had not only shaped a strong young girl, but also a resilient and determined woman. She didn't just survive, she thrived, becoming an excellent university lecturer, a person admired and respected by all. Emily proved that even if born into difficult circumstances, with love, persistence, and belief in oneself, anything is possible to overcome. Catherine and John sat in Emily's classroom, watching their daughter stand at the podium with pride in their eyes. They had witnessed the difficult moments, the sleepless nights caring for her, and the worry over every step, every breath Emily took. But now, sitting among the sea of students in their daughter's class, they understood that all their efforts and sacrifices had paid off. Emily was no longer the fragile child they once held in their arms. Now, she was a strong, capable woman, able to inspire many generations of young minds. John gently held Catherine's hand. No words were necessary, for both knew they had been through it all together. They had never given up, no matter how tough the road had been. Their love and persistence for Emily had helped her stand tall and become a strong, capable woman, someone they were more proud of than anything in life. Catherine and John left the classroom, stepping out into the clear sky. Each step they took felt lighter than ever before. Without speaking, they both knew the long journey had come to an end. They had fought tirelessly for Emily, and now their daughter was living the life they had always dreamed of. "We did it, John," Catherine whispered, her eyes sparkling. "Thank you for always being by my side. Thank you for us never giving up." John smiled, squeezing his wife's hand, and softly replied, "There's nothing to thank me for, Catherine. This is all we could do, and our daughter is the wonderful result of love and unwavering faith." They stood together, gazing at the blue sky, knowing that Emily's future would continue to shine brightly. That little girl, with all the love they had given her, would continue on her path, taking stronger and steadier steps than ever before. The story of Catherine, John, and Emily is not only a journey through hardship and challenges, but also a testament to the power of love, persistence, and belief in overcoming all obstacles. Emily, despite facing numerous difficulties from a young age, had grown into an exceptional adult, proving that with unconditional love and perseverance, nothing is impossible.